shows that your attorney has total contempt of the rule of law. Her and the Attorney General's office were seeking ways to get around the Century Code. The Attorney General's office statement that there were no penalty is very wrong. The penalty is a result of no oath of office, which creates a vacant position. Ms. Wenko forged a fake oath of office for her and others, which now creates a new and bigger problem. To fake a forged oath of office is to attempt to steal the office. The office is owned by we the people. We are here today to try and seek a solution. But Ms. Wenko, for her part in trying to deceive the people of Dickinson, needs to be removed immediately and not considered for rehire. The only other solution for the other oaths of office is to have a new election. Before any more harm is done for these offices by people maneuvering, deceiving, attempting to take that which is not theirs to take, we all want you to come clean. We cannot change what has been done. We're asking you all to, even though you may not have the authority to facilitate a new election, so that we can start anew and hopefully never violate this law again. Thank you. I'm done. Yep, thank you. It works. We cannot have another meeting.
Well, we are going to continue. Thank you for your comments. We are going to continue.
Be warned, we will be going after your bond, and we will be seeking court remedies because what you're doing is unlawful. And what she's been doing is completely unlawful. And that's a deception to the public. And I'm suggesting strongly that we can do a writ of mandamus, we can do a writ of quo warranto, but you folks have to do what's right, and you're not. You can be working on this, but you're not even working on it, because we're collecting your emails also. So for her to tell everybody at the Attorney General's office, this is like a powder keg ready to blow, it's creeping its ugly little head up, you should read some of the emails that are happening. So folks, be warned. You have a $2 million bond, and you're acting now outside the scope of your authority. Thank you.
I want to approach the bench again. So I'm going to read you the original email this woman sent to the Attorney General's office. It was sent August 17, 2023 at 7:41 a.m. This has reared its head again. I am hoping that you can shed some light on this as soon as possible. I've got the same party requesting nearly everyone's oath of office, as well as the oaths of office of the members of the Park Board. The party has also requested to be on the commission agenda. In discussion with the League of Cities and my own research, if adopted in the Home Rule Charter, a city has the authority to provide for city officers, agencies, and employees their selection, terms, powers, duties, qualifications, and compensations. There's an AG's opinion providing that under this Home Rule power, a city had the ability to adopt an ordinance changing the municipal judge from an elected position to an appointed position. The opinion is attached to this email. As such, it appears a city could use its Home Rule authority to change any of these appointed offices to employees through ordinance. I'm not sure if any of these cities have actually done this. From what I am being told, the city of Dickinson hasn't for likely multiple decades actually gone through the process for appointing its department heads in June after the election. City auditor, city engineer, public works director, fire chief, police chief, city assessor, and city attorney. The city has always considered these employee positions and not appointed positions. North Dakota Century Code 44-0105 requires an oath of office by a civil officer appointed by a commission. Currently, of these positions, the chief of police is the only individual with a signed oath because the city has required that the police officers have one. I do not have an oath as a city attorney because my firm has never officially been appointed. My firm contracted by the city, whether that is right or wrong, but I have never been asked to sign one. Dickinson is a home rule city. It has identical provision in its home rule charter as listed above. It also has the following provisions listed below, which are section 2.12.010 enumerated and section 2.12.030 terms. I take the AG's opinion to mean the city can act whenever ordinance it deems that will supersede the Century Code's requirements. Therefore, would it be possible that the city could simply remove the provisions regarding its appointed offices and employed positions? Seems to me to appoint an employee every year or every 2 years as a formality doesn't seem to make sense at all. My second question is, the city ordinance says it appoints those positions. I'm being told it hasn't done that officially in a long while. Has the city been running afoul by not following the protocol? If so, I would say the remedy right now is to, 1, appoint these positions immediately and vote to ratify their appointments and any previous actions taken since each of their respective dates of hire, or 2, move to amend the ordinance and remove the reference to appointed positions. If you could let me know your thoughts, I would appreciate it. This is going to blow up, and I want to get ahead of it. That's all I have to say.
We will proceed with the meeting.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the commission. There is no change to the order of business this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Dossinger. Any questions on the order of business?
Move to approve.
Have a motion approved by Commissioner Oderman,
Second?
second by Commissioner Soboluk. Any discussion on the order of business? All in favor of the order of business as presented, state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. Motion carries. Next item up is the consent agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda that commissioners wish to discuss? Hearing none, I'd look for a motion.
Mr. President, I move to approve.
Motion approved by Commissioner Bear,
Second.
second by Commissioner Frederick. Any further discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, we'll vote. Dr. Bear,
Aye.
Mr. Frederick,
Aye.
Mr. Oderman,
Aye.
Mrs. Soboluk.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. First item up, we have a few proclamations this evening. So if your organization is in the crowd and you wish to say something before I read the... If not, I will proceed with the proclamation. Whereas Dickinson, North Dakota is a community which acknowledges that a special vibrancy exists within the entire community when its individual citizens collectively go the extra mile in personal effort, volunteerism, and service. And whereas Dickinson, North Dakota is a community which encourages its citizens to maximize their personal contribution to the community by giving of themselves wholeheartedly and with total effort, commitment, and conviction to their individual ambitions, family, friends, and community. And whereas Dickinson, North Dakota is a community which chooses to shine a light on and celebrate individuals and organizations within its community who go the extra mile in order to make a difference and lift up fellow members of their community. And whereas Dickinson, North Dakota acknowledges the mission of Extra Mile America to create 550 Extra Mile cities in America and is proud to support Extra Mile Day on November 1st, 2023. Now, therefore, I, Scott Decker, President of the City Commission of Dickinson, North Dakota, do hereby proclaim November 1st, 2023 to be the Extra Mile Day. And I urge each individual in the community to take time on this day to not only go the extra mile in his or her own life, but also acknowledge all of those who are inspirational in their efforts and commitment to make their organizations, families, community, country, or world a better place. In witness whereof I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal to be affixed. And I would look for a motion to approve the Extra Mile Day proclamation.
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve
Second.
with a second. All in favor, state aye.
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 Motion carries. Our next proclamation is Human Kindness Day. Is there anyone from Human Kindness that wishes to come forward and state anything? I know they're in attendance. Whereas the City of Dickinson traditionally recognizes organizations that have made significant and remarkable contributions to the vitality of our city, and the work of CHI St. Alexis Health Dickinson truly represents a commitment to our community's health and Dickinson's values at their best. And whereas CHI St. Alexis Health Dickinson is dedicated to providing compassionate, high quality, and affordable patient-centered health care with a special attention to the poor and underserved. And CHI St. Alexis Health Dickinson Foundation, established in 1983 for the sole purpose of supporting and enhancing the healthcare mission of CHI St. Alexis Health Dickinson Hospital and Services. And whereas, in partnership with Common Spirit Health, one of the nation's largest nonprofit healthcare systems, the foundation aims to put kindness into action. And whereas the foundation focuses on people we need to reach the most, our youth and underserved population that need to help but often lack the voice and resources to ask for it. And whereas the foundation believes humanity and kindness are at the heart of healing, because no matter where you are born, grow, work, live, or age, everyone deserves the opportunity to be healthy now. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Scott Decker, Mayor of the City of Dickinson, in recognition of the tremendous work of CHI St. Alexis Health and the Foundation in Dickinson, I do hereby proclaim November 4th, 2023 as Human Kindness Day in Dickinson, in witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal to be fixed. I look for a motion on Human Kindness Day in Dickinson.
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve
Second?
and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. And lastly, but not least, Fire Prevention Week in Dickinson. Whereas the City of Dickinson is committed to ensuring the safety and security. Oh, there he is. He popped up. There he is.
I
I
thought
was just
about following
rattling, you know.
everybody else's
I was on a roll.
Yeah.
So
Thank you, President Decker.
Yeah.
So every year, in one of the first weeks in October is Fire Prevention Week. This year, it's the 8th through the 14th. We did get a little earlier start this year, and we kind of tried to kick off the festivities with a free community breakfast, which we held last Sunday. It was well attended, and we had a lot of fun with that. But this year's theme, they got really catchy. Pay attention to fire prevention. So that's the message that we will be putting out there to the community. We kind of started this week with some of our daycares and some of the homeschool kids, giving tours and giving safety messages. And then all of next week we'll be out in the schools presenting in the schools. So thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
all right, thank you, Chief. And it was a really good event, the community breakfast. I think it was pretty well attended. I heard over 500 people were around that. 500 people showed up, so that was nice. So Fire Prevention Week in Dickinson. Whereas the City of Dickinson is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living and visiting Dickinson. And whereas fire is a serious public safety concern, both locally and nationally. And homes are the locations where people are at the greatest risk from fire. And whereas home fires killed more than 2,800 people in the United States in 2021, according to the National Fire Association. And fire departments in the United States responded to 338,000 home fires. And whereas cooking is the leading cause of home fires in the United States, and fire departments responded to more than 166,400 annually. Between 26 injuries occurred when the victims tried to fight the fires themselves. And whereas children under 5 face a higher risk of non-fire burns associated with cooking than being burned in a cooking fire. And whereas Dickinson's first responders are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and home fire injuries through prevention and protection education. And whereas Dickinson residents that are responsive to public education measures are better able to take personal steps to increase their safety from fire, especially in their homes. And whereas the 2023 Fire Prevention Week theme, Cooking Safety Starts With You, pay attention to fire prevention, effectively serves to remind us to stay alert and use caution when cooking to reduce the risk of kitchen fires. Therefore, I, Scott Decker, Mayor of Dickinson, do hereby proclaim October 8th through the 14th, 2023, as Fire Prevention Week throughout the city of Dickinson, and I urge all the people of Dickinson to support the many public safety activities and efforts of Dickinson's Fire and Emergency Services during Fire Prevention Week 2023 and throughout the year. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal to be affixed. And I look for a motion to approve the proclamation for Fire Prevention Week.
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve
Second?
with a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Chapter 2 Code Amendment. Ms. Winkle?
Thank you, Mr. President. We've kind of already touched on this a little bit, but we'll go back over it. We had a first initial meeting. We had the second reading and public hearing last commission meeting. So I just want to go over some of the adjustments and modifications that I've made based on the discussion that we had at the last meeting. Before I do get into that, I do want to reiterate that these changes that are being proposed have been approved in concept by not only the AG's office, but also the League of Cities. So we took the necessary steps as provided and basically directed to us by the League of Cities as well as the Attorney General's office to get this issue corrected. Currently, Article 2.12010 states as follows, and I won't read that, but in a nutshell, what it requires is the Board of City Commissioners at their first meeting after their qualification or soon after as they're possible, appoint various city officials to their positions. This is how it currently reads, and this is the process that has been overlooked for many years. So this right here is the code article section that we're looking to clean up. Again, reiterating, it was alluded to again previously with regard to the Home Rule Charter, because the City of Dickinson is a Home Rule city, we do have the ability to adjust and make certain allocations with regard to our city officers, agencies, and employees. And if you recall the last commission meeting, we talked quite extensively about what other cities are doing with regard to these appointed positions and whether they are requiring oaths and which of those city officials fall under those categories. So what we're proposing to change is to get rid of the requirement that requires the board to appoint those officers at the first May of every meeting. So essentially what I did was I took a little bit of language from the city of Grand Forks and took a little bit of language from the city of Fargo. So according to this requirement, or how we would adopt this, the following positions would be considered appointed. That would be auditor, attorney, assessor, public health officer, fire chief, police chief, city engineer, and the public works director. So those those appointed positions would be the only positions that we would classify as appointed. The next thing that I did was change the requirement or added a proposed change with regard to the term. Because as we've discussed at length, some of these officers and these city officials hold these positions for years. And again, it doesn't make sense to reappoint someone to the same position that they may have held for a decade. So what I have done is modified this so that it says the appointed officer shall be appointed by the board for an indefinite period subject to the laws of the state of North Dakota and the civil service ordinances as set forth in Chapter 29. Because we do have to remember that while these individuals are classified as appointed, they are still qualified as civil service employees. So it removes the requirement for that reappointment and again reminding us that these positions are still governed by civil service. I also added a new section, which is not currently in our code, that addresses the oath of office for appointed officers. This would require that those appointed positions would sign an oath. And again, this is not currently in our code. This is an addition that we currently do not have. And this is borrowed from the city of Fargo. So it does require or add a provision requiring an oath, and the oath would be taken at the inception of employment. It's not something that would be done on an annual basis, but when you become hired and you take that position, that's when you would sign the oath. So that is, again, a new section that's being added. Again, just as a reiteration, it does not preclude any department from requiring certain employees to take an oath of office. For example, our police officers, every one of them takes an oath. That is not going to be changing. It removes a requirement for the formal appointment process at every new organizational meeting. And again, this is more consistent with how the staff has perceived these positions for many years. So hopefully with this new adoption and this change, we have a more streamlined, more efficient, more modern process that we are abiding by and moving forward. So those are the proposed changes from the first reading, and I would welcome any questions or comments that the board has.
Thank you, Mrs. Winko. Any questions, commissioners?
Mr. President,
Commissioner Arterman?
just a quick point of information here. Mr. Dossinger, I don't know if the internet is down for everybody. Mine is not working, so I don't know if the live stream is down or not, but
Mine's not working either.
Mine's not either. So,
I'll notify IT and see
Good.
what the situation is.
thank you. Mr. President, I did just want to speak to, sorry, I just turned off my mic there. The email that was read at the beginning of the meeting. A lot of that is information that was covered at the last meeting. I want to say to Attorney Wanko, I want to say thank you, because you inherited an issue that was identified, and you're doing what you can to rectify said issue. We all inherited this issue. This is the way that we've conducted business for decades in the city now. And we are doing our best to rectify the issue. And in addition, we are adding, we're adding a required oath to the ordinance that wasn't there before. And so the misinformation that's out there about us eliminating oaths of office and trying to pull a fast one on the city of Dickinson just is not true. And I want to make that explicitly clear. There's a lot of misinformation out there. And Mrs. Winko is doing her job as the city attorney, giving us advice in order to make sure that our ordinance is as squared away as possible and actually reflects the way that we've done business for 30 years. So thank you.
Commissioners, any other comments or questions? I think you summed up appropriately our intent from last meeting, how we would like to see it proceed in the future with appointed positions and department heads having that power to require what like we've been doing with police officers and some of the other departments for many years. So thank you for the work on that. We are, as Commissioner Arterman said, there's nobody trying to cover up anything. We're just trying to fix things so that, you know, what the AG is telling us to do, we're going to do, and we'll fix it. So some people may disagree with that, and I guess they will do what they're going to do, and we'll do what we're going to do, and that's run a city and provide services to the people. So any other comments or questions? Anything else that you might want to see amended in Code 2 or added, deleted? Not, I'd look for a motion.
Mr. President, I move to approve.
I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Bear.
Second?
Second by Commissioner Sobeluk. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Dr. Bear?
Aye.
Mrs. Sobeluk?
Aye.
Mr. Frederick?
Aye.
Mr. Oderman?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Next up is our Chapter 13 amendment. Mrs. Winko?
Thank you, Mr. President, Commissioners. This is just a cleanup item in relation to Chapter 2. So it's a little bit odd, and again, this is part of the code where some of the things just haven't been updated for quite some time. But there are only two portions of the code that specifically require two positions to sign an oath, and that's the fire chief and the public health official. So because we are making that a requirement in Chapter 2, I don't think it makes sense to have that separate requirement in Chapter 13. So I would just proceed with requesting that that be removed so that can be updated, so because we have it covered in Chapter 2. No adjustments or revisions have been made to that since the first reading, and I would recommend approval.
All right, thank you. Any questions on the Chapter 13 Code Amendment, Ordinance Number 1785? No questions, I'd look for a motion.
I'd move to approve.
Have a motion to approve by Commissioner Sobeluk,
Second.
second by Commissioner Frederick. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Mrs. Sobeluk,
Aye.
Mr. Frederick,
Aye.
Mr. Oderman,
Aye.
Dr. Bear.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. We'll move into the 2024 proposed budget, and this will be presented by Deputy City Administrator Carlson.
Thank you, President Decker and Commissioners. So I am going to go over the PowerPoint with the proposed budget as I did on the first reading in the public hearing. So general fund by category is just showing that biggest portion that we have that goes into the general fund is our transfer ins, and our transfer ins is on the next page, which is special revenues like our city sales tax, oil impact, hospitality tax, ARPA, and the highway tax, and those are transferred into our general fund, which takes that 57%. For the 24 budget, it is increased by 9.55% to $27,025,495. So this increase is going to be due to the increases of the general fund. These departments here make up for the public. These departments that you're seeing here on this screen makes up our general fund. So the biggest ones that we have are your police and fire are your biggest budgets. And then when you get down to streets and IT, there are also the bigger budgets because of their capitals and the employment.
And just to make note for the general public that is watching on the slide, some of those departments that which seem like very large increases, are very small departments. So if you add one person to 3, that department jumps up considerably. Mm-hmm. So you have to look at the total number. Take for example, the IT department, and a lot of that, as Mrs. Carlson said, is capital improvement. It's not adding personnel. It's but when you add $300,000 in infrastructure improvements to our IT, which I would dare say is probably, if it's not the best, it is. I would say it's top 3 in the state. I can vouch for that because Mr. Meyer and his staff has kept a lot of hackers at bay. I'll just put it that way. And he detects things before the state even detects things. So he's doing an awesome job. So things like that where we have to invest in that infrastructure, it pushes that budget up, as you can see, like $300,000 there, and some of the other departments. And then the other, kudos to other departments that are finding ways to drop their budget. So, and there has been a little bit of restructuring too. So we move some people around, and so some departments go up and some go down. But you can proceed, Mrs. Carlson.
Thank you, President Decker. So general fund, and we have 4 categories that we break down in our budget. And the biggest one would be the wage and benefits, which is 68%. And then your operating is 21%, and then capital is 4%. And as President Decker was saying, when we started the budget process way back in January, February, the wish list was 10 full-time employees. And by the time we've gone down to where we need to propose a budget that would be sufficient for our city, we come up with 3 full-time are recommended by staff. And those 3 are the evidence tech in PD, in the police department, the project engineer in engineering, and then the marketing events assistant for our Legacy Square marketing department. department. The 2024 personnel compensation breakdown is $1.2 million is what it's coming out to be for this year, which includes a 2% merit increase, a 4% COLA increase, and a 3% market adjustment, hard to fill adjusting. And then you can see through that cost calculation estimates of how much each category takes up to make that 1.2. To break it down by percentage, your merit is 26%. That's the 2% that everybody gets. And then your non-exempt, which is your hourly employees, is your biggest one at 40%. That's the biggest amount that is up there. And then these are the capital requests. This is the summary of the general fund that, as President Decker stated, when departments are asking for money to work on capital projects in the general fund, you will see the department budget. They'll have money in their department budget, so this money makes up part of their budget. So you can see in the general fund what their department budget is, and then the other column, which is other fund source, that could be either a lease or it could be encumbered money from last year going to this year, or it could be a special revenue. So they had a donation or something and they're using some of their capital purchases through a donation that they might have received. So then you see the non-general fund, and then you see your enterprise funds, which are your water, utilities, and sewer. The capital in progress, the CIP, that's your also construction in progress. So the reason I put this one up is because the fact is we get questions on how much of our funds that we receive in are used for our capital projects. And 44% of the revenue that we receive in is coming from our oil production tax that goes towards construction. We also take out small percentage loans out of the state, and then our local sales tax also puts in 36% to pay for our roads and capital projects. The city also provides subsidies to different entities throughout the city and our southwest area. And so this is a list of where our subsidies will be going in 2024, and then the funding source they're coming out of. So it's our sales tax, our general fund, our hospitality tax, and then this page, a 0.5% sales tax, which is separate. Like when we give our financial report, we have them separated, and then the ARPA funds. And the last column, just before the funds, is the 24 amount. And with that, I'll stand for any questions. Other than that, for the second reading, I'd like to, staff recommends approval of the ordinance 1786.
Thank you, Mrs. Carlson. Any comments or questions for Mrs. Carlson or staff on the 2024 proposed budget? This is the second reading of ordinance 1786. I'd like to, my comment is thank everyone for their hard work, commissioners, staff, everybody that's been involved with the process. A lot of people don't realize everything that goes into this. Time we spend to whittle down and make this budget work. We were at League of Cities a couple of weeks ago. I made the comment to the other mayors and their city administrators that Dickinson has not touched its property tax amount that we've asked for the last 9 years. We've asked for $5.7 million in property tax for the last 9 years. We have not touched that. And they do not understand how we can do it. We just make it. It's a lot of hard work, and I appreciate all the work that goes into it. And, you know, all those hardworking employees are out there. They're out there every day, you know, showing up for work, trying to make this the best city in North Dakota. So I really do appreciate it. And so hopefully, you know, with the increases and everything and some of that market adjustment, we can start recruiting and attracting some people and show them how good we really are out here. So if there are no other comments or questions for staff, I would ask for a motion on the 2024 proposed budget.
Mr. President, I move to approve.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Bear,
Second.
second by Commissioner Frederick. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Dr. Bear,
Aye.
Mr. Frederick,
Aye.
Mr. Oderman,
Aye.
Mrs. Sobeluk.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. It is 5 o'clock, so I know we have some people in the audience that really want to get up here too. So 5 o'clock, Legacy Square Ice Rink presentation. This will be presented by Christy Schwartz. Welcome.
Good evening, President Decker, Commissioners, staff. My name is Christy Schwartz. We are the organization that helped raise the community funds for the town square. I'm going to be discussing the ice rink for the town square this evening. Much of the information I'm covering is familiar with all of you, but I just wanted to talk about it for the purpose of the public being aware. City of Dickinson 2035 comprehensive plan outlined downtown revitalization as an issue that needed attention and described many improvement ideas, including the town square, in the long-term city development plans. In 2015, the City of Dickinson hired V3 Studios to help create a downtown plan for Dickinson to activate this portion of the city's comprehensive plan. Mayor Decker said in the beginning of the planning process, quote, "The town square concept is a major component of our downtown revitalization strategy," end quote. Now, in June of 2023, the City of Dickinson has realized our plan for our new Legacy Square. Throughout the planning process for Legacy Square, there were multiple recommendations for the importance of activating the town square for at least 250 days a year in order to help revitalize the entire downtown area. Visits to the Rapid City Town Square reinforced this importance as activities in their town square year-round boosted overall sales tax revenues from the downtown area. World-renowned downtown revitalization expert Roger Brooks speaks of this often. Quote, "It must be a year-round activity center, active at least 15 days each month, not just on the weekends. This helps the plaza from becoming a hangout for undesirable activity." He continued, "The big trend now is creating ice skating rinks in the winter months," end quote. As part of the detailed planning process, which included public input meetings, having an ice skating rink in the square was always discussed and planned for, knowing that this was the #1 activity requested for the winter months. The public is expecting this. During the capital campaign, the supporting documents, as well as communications with donors, always included an ice rink in the square. During the detailed planning process with the Town Square Task Force and JLG Architects, there was much discussion regarding synthetic ice versus real ice. Information provided costs and maintenance and led the planning team to select synthetic ice for the square. Once the capital campaign was underway and discussions with the local businessmen and women were happening, it became obvious that the community did not want a synthetic ice skating rink. Comments described the surface as hard to glide your skates on, and it was like walking on your skates. Some visitors to the new synthetic ice rink in Deadwood, South Dakota last winter said they would never go back. The surface was not like skating on real ice. Research was done to find out what other communities were doing for their ice rinks and whether they were satisfied with their choice of synthetic or real ice. The city of Aspen, Colorado was one community that changed to a real ice skating rink after only one season with synthetic ice and numerous complaints about the poor experience. One community, the city of Kenosha, Wisconsin, population 100,000, spoke with Olivia in the Parks Department. She was in charge of the ice rink for the last 2 years. Ice maintenance is done on a daily basis by Olivia and one other staff. They scrape the ice with snow shovels every 2 to 3 hours on busy days, or at least once a day. They shovel it every night after closing. They bring a Zamboni in every couple of days to resurface the ice. They have between 100 to 150 skaters per day average, and they do not allow hockey. They set up the rink 2 weeks before Thanksgiving and level the area with sand where they put it. They take it down around March 1st, depending on the weather. On warmer days above 50 degrees, the ice does get slushy, and they close it if that happens. They operate with 2 people in the skate hut daily. These are the same people that also shovel during the day. The rink is free to the public, and they do not rent skates. I spoke with the city of Morris, Illinois. Stan Knutson, the public information officer for the city of Morris. Morris has a population of 14,500. In 2021 was their first year for their rink. They purchased it from Iron Sleek, and they spoke highly of this vendor. And that is the vendor that we have the quote for our ice skating rink. It was one of 2 quotes originally. Their rink is 40 by 90 feet. It is set up on grass in a park. The setup and takedown was done by their public works department, and they fill it with a water truck. There is no monitoring of the rink. It is free to the public and no skate rental. They post a sign for their hours that the rink will be used for hockey, and otherwise the rink is open the same time as the park from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. They had 0 incidents on the ice, and he emphasized this. He said the hockey kids and other volunteers would shovel the rink when it snowed and in between skating. They did not use a Zamboni, only the hand pull-behind manual resurfacer. They would bring water in from a water truck and hook a hose up to it and pull that around the rink about once per week. He said the chillers are very quiet, and they cost them an average of $300 to $400 a month to run. These would be the same chillers as proposed in our ice skating rink. He said that it may be higher if the weather. It dulls people's ice skates. They have to sharpen their skates before going on real ice after using it on a synthetic ice rink. For their grand opening of the rink, they invited figure skaters to perform. They could not do their performances on the synthetic ice. The setup for the rink takes a crew of 4 days to set up. They clean it daily with a riding floor scrubber, similar to what you'd use on a floor inside of a building. Snow is removed by hand. No snow blowers can be used on a synthetic ice rink due to the damage it does to the surface. He absolutely recommended real ice. City of Rapid City Town Square has a real ice skating rink, as many know, and they rent skates during the season. The income from renting skates and sponsorships in their first year they were open was $80,000. Their population is 76,200. I have a couple other testimonies that I'm going to have Dustin play right now for you.
Hello everybody, Stan Knutson from the city of Morris coming to you from the middle of our ice rink, installed by Iron Sleek. That's right, it's a 44 by 80 refrigerated ice rink. This is our 2nd season and we absolutely love it here. The response from our community has been amazing, from the skaters and from the sponsors you see on the walls behind us here. More than $70,000 raised in sponsorships on our ice rink in just 2 seasons. I want to thank Iron Sleek for being on time, on budget, and there through the entire process. Everybody needs one of these in their community. Get one now.
We were looking to expand our winter opportunities. With weather changes here and pattern changes, we knew we had to do more in the wintertime to make our kids give them opportunities for enjoyment. And much to our surprise, it wasn't only for the children, but the adults in the community also were very responsive. The system is fantastic. It was everything we were told it would be, and the usage was much higher than we expected. And we only open 3 or 4 days a week. We hope to expand that hours next year by doing 5 or 6 days a week. But the opportunities for the kids in the community and were just amazing. And the response from the community was amazing. And the people in the county are admirable of looking at us as a leader in winter recreation. You have ski parks, you have all these other things, but ice skating and when you have climate change here in the Northeast, where you have very few days of ice pond skating, it's amazing for us. And so our parents are really happy. Our kids are really happy. So happy community makes for a happy mayor.
Awesome. So those chillers make a big difference?
Chillers made a huge difference. We were skating in days 45, 50 degrees. People were skating. And the wintertime, we had a warm winter here too. And, so we had a lot of success. And as I said, when you're in politics and community response is that positive, that makes you feel good.
Thank you, Dustin. There have been some concerns regarding setting up an ice skating rink, namely storage, snow removal, setup and takedown, and staff. Regarding the storage space needed for the ice rink, when it's not set up in the square, it requires 262 square feet. This could be accessed from the storage building behind the square. The ice resurfacer fits inside the storage room building behind the stage during the rink season and would fit in the storage space in the building behind the square in off-season. Additional space may be needed for the leveling foam. I apologize. And that space could possibly be found in the Public Works building. It would take approximately 128 square feet for the 288 sheets of foam for leveling the town square. Regarding snow removal, my thought on snow removal is this. There is currently staff in place for upkeep and maintenance of Legacy Square. They will be completing snow removal even without an ice skating rink, and it would be the same with the ice skating rink. It just needs to be shoveled off when it snows. Weekend could be volunteers or part-time staff hired for the skate rental and concessions. And it is recommended that snow be removed off of an ice skating rink within 24 hours. The resurfacing does need to be done daily from the research that I've done and talking with Iron Sleek. If it's used daily, that is. This can be accomplished with a resurfacing wand that comes with the ice skating rink or the Ice Envy machine that is in the budget, similar to a small Zamboni. Setup and takedown, the first setup will be done by Iron Sleek. And then we would need to have key people help with this process so their knowledge within the city staff on the procedure. I have spoke with a board member of the Dickinson Hockey Club for volunteers for setup and takedown. He stated they have hundreds of hockey families in Dickinson, and it should be easy to get 6 or so volunteers to help with that setup and takedown. The DID could help coordinate this effort. Iron Sleek can also send a consultant for each setup for the first couple of years. That does cost $2,000 per visit. Our campaign goal for the ice skating rink and for the starting of the operations is $300,000. So I just wanted to go over the budget with you that you all have a copy of. Ice rink is $121,000. That does include the chillers. The leveling materials, which are the sheets of foam that I spoke of, is $3,615. To complete the electrical for the chillers, I understand that the conduit was put in to the town square, but the electrical was not run. And at that time, JLG informed me that it was an additional $10,000 to $11,000, so I budgeted $15,000 just for increase in costs for that. The Ice Envy ice reconditioner machine is $36,000. Rubber mats to cover around the outside of the ice skating rink for when people get off the ice to walk around, so they're not walking on the concrete with their skates, is $11,200. If we wanted to do ice skates for rental, a package of ice skates, 200 pair was $16,000. Ice skate sharpener is $2,200. Racks for the skates is $6,432 for a total of $211,447. When we're looking at operating costs, I estimated chillers at $800 a month on average. Staff, if we're going to have staff, part-time staff, based on 4 hours a day, 7 days a week, at $15 an hour, at $3,360 a month. Staff for maintenance of the rink, using current staff, no additional charges, set up and tear down, approximately $5,000 for a total of the entire season being $21,640. There could be revenues gained to offset some of the expenses of the operating. I believe that skate rentals would be a plus for the square. I estimated low at $9,000 for the season for revenue. I do also believe that concessions could bring in approximately $25,000 if we had concessions at the same time. So I just wanted to open it up for any questions that anybody had.
Thank you, Mrs. Schwartz. Any questions, commissioners, for Mrs. Schwartz?
Just a quick comment, Mr. President. Thank you for the great presentation. There's a lot of information here, and I mean, you've got it laid out well. So you provided us all the information that we might need to hopefully ask some questions and make a decision. So,
Thank you.
Christie, which part, the fundraising part would be the 211,000? I mean, what are you looking from us, basically? Any kind of financial investment in the rink itself?
No, we plan on raising $300,000, which would cover the costs of the ice skating rink, including ice skates, if we so choose to do that, and also some operating expenses for probably 1 to 2 years. So we would plan on raising those funds for the city and for the town square. The only thing that I would request is that the commission approve to move forward with the ice skating rink so that we can begin or continue our capital campaign for the ice rink.
so Mrs. Schwartz, who would the employees be employed by?
City of Dickinson.
Okay, Mr. Dossinger, what's our appetite there?
I mean, certainly there's concerns as far as, I mean, right now, obviously Dickinson Park and Rec have some challenges when hiring part-time staff to man the open skate hours right now over at the ice rink. I mean, it'd definitely be challenging for the city to figure out if we would go down the skate rental portion, how we would staff that with part-time staff, where we would store the skates and what that would look like, combining that with a concession stand on site. Space is somewhat limited over there to do both of those things at once. We would have to decide what that would look like. There would definitely be some concerns as far as staffing it properly and maintaining it, moving down the road with that.
Mr. President.
Commissioner Bear.
Ms. Schwartz, first of all, I like to make one correction to one of your statements. I was not a commissioner at the time when this was discussed. You said we were all of us were up here. I was not.
Yes, that's true.
Okay.
Thank you
I
for
just
that
wanted that to be
correction,
clear.
Dr. Bear.
Number two, what, and I see Ben in the back there, what kind of impact would this have on the indoor ice rink here at Dickinson, to have an outdoor ring at the same time. What kind of impact do you see that would be?
In discussions that I had previously with Mr. Kramer, our thought was that this would enhance that experience for ice, because there is so much need for ice time up at the West River Community Center.
Okay.
In fact, they're needing more ice at this time. I think this would possibly pull some of just the figure skaters off, so that they would have more hockey time up at the ice rink. But certainly, if Ben wanted to make any comments on that, he could.
Okay. Sorry, Ben,
Sorry to put you on the spot.
Putting them on the spot.
yeah, sorry, didn't mean to put you on the spot there,
All
but
right.
it's just.
Benjamin Ray, Dickinson Parks and Recreation Executive Director. I would say that it would have minimal impact on the ice center, just based on current programming. Certainly, there is the potential for some impact, but I don't think that it would be significant. So I'm not really prepared to discuss more than that, but I would say to the commission, we did do our community survey this summer, and one of the top items that people from the community asked for is more winter sports activities. So I'll just add that. That's one thing I can say, but not really prepared to say more than that. So.
That's good, thank you.
President Decker, if I may ask Mr. Ray a question, please. As far as, staffing with part-time staff, particularly facility attendants over at the West River Community Center, potential, what type of challenges are you seeing with hiring?
Well,
part-time
staffing
staff?
right now is probably our biggest challenge all across the district, particularly part-time staffing. In fact, this last week it was hard for us to even staff open skate on homecoming weekend. And probably the biggest challenges that we're having with part-time staff overall is a lack of employees who want to work evenings and weekend hours. In fact,
Join the
I
club.
would say it's almost an impossibility right now. Thanks.
Mr. Dossinger, I would have a question perhaps for you, and you might have to do a little research on this, but this would, basically lock down a large percentage of the square for 4 to 6 months every year if we were to move forward with this. How does that impact Mr. Walters and the city's plans for the Legacy Square?
That's a good question for me.
Last year you could have had it up in November. This year, you're probably not gonna get it up till end of December. It's North Dakota winter, so
Yeah.
we don't know. 2 weeks from now, it'll probably snow one day and then it's gonna be gone. So,
Excuse me. I just recall when we were planning this, and this has been years now, a lot of years, the town square. That was one of the number one items on the community panel's list to have in the town square, was an ice rink. That's been talked about since almost the inception of the whole town square idea. So,
And if we're gonna have a Christmas tree there, there's just, I think that this adds an element to the ambiance of that area during the winter.
I know we have some, Park and Rec has a couple, outdoor rinks that, are not refrigerated, but they're not usable a whole lot of the times, except maybe the real cold months, so.
Yeah, I would certainly, my opinion is, and I'm new to North Dakota, but it's not always easy to have ice with non-refrigerated, even in our area. So,
Yeah.
you're pretty limited and weather specific, so.
No, I think it would be a great asset. We just have to figure out how it's going to work between staffing, programming. What I jotted down for notes here is what kind of warranty on all this equipment?
I did look at that at one point in time, but it was quite some time ago, so I would have to get back to you on that. I'll certainly send an email out to you and the all the commissioners. as
You
soon
know,
as-
my concern is with the Zamboni, that mini Zamboni, what kind of warranty you having, those chillers. I know that Park and Rec just replaced the chiller at, you know, the big skating rinks, and that was into, it was a lot of dollars. I mean, regardless, I mean, the chiller in here is, I think it's itemized. I saw the cost in here for the chiller. You know, my concern is what kind of warranty are we getting for this money? You know, wear and tear on the boards, wear and tear on some of the other equipment, you know, that's gonna happen. You know, boards will get, you know, beat up, and I'm more concerned about, do we have, you know, 3 years on the chiller, 5 years on the chiller? Is it a 1 year, one and done? And, you know, and then next thing you know, we got again, I'm looking for the chiller on here, but
Yeah, it's in just the
yeah,
actual
$91,000.
attachment
Yeah.
documents,
So,
yeah.
yeah, it's
it's-
91. Well, I mean, there's piping in there and there's some other costs that are added, but it's 91,000 basically. And with inflation, it's just going to keep going up. So I guess that's my questions on this.
One other question I would have, Mr. President, is the long-term impact on the underlying cement, that concrete there. Are there any concerns on the lifespan of that being impacted by this being placed on top of that?
There was some conversations just about the weight and the ice itself on there, and when Jason was in on those meetings, I didn't think we had any concerns
don't
really
think-
about
Yeah.
because the rink won't be attached to the concrete, so
Yeah.
that's good. It won't.
It just sits on top
Yeah.
of that foam, basically, so.
Commissioner
There's
Olderman.
very little weight.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said there's very little weight to the rink,
Yeah.
even with the ice on, because it's just thin ice. you
Sure.
know, So.
Commissioner Oberman, to answer your question, there was some concern regarding some of the electrical features in the concrete, potentially voiding warranty. We would have to have some follow-up conversations with the contractors regarding that. And if I would have one question for Mrs. Schwartz, what's your timeline? What are you looking at for a timeline?
We would begin raising money for it right away. We're just kind of waiting for, making sure that the city wants to move forward with the ice rink.
So the chances of it happening this winter are pretty slim. We'd be probably looking winter of '24.
I would say that's probably more reasonable, just to make sure that we have all the money raised and everything set up and ready and planned.
Yeah. That seems fair.
Yeah.
Sorry. Question, I'm trying to picture in my head where this would go. We found out some problems with the fountains with the sand. Will we have problems with skates over those fountains? I mean, would that area be protected, or would this go over top of that?
Commissioner Bear, this would not go over top the fountain area. This would be more centered right directly in front of the stage.
I think if you look at the diagram
Yeah,
that's presented, it's basically in front of the stage, between the stage and the grass area. And then it pushes itself out to the boundaries. It's 70, 72, 78,
48 by 72.
72 feet, yeah.
Yeah, by 48.
Yeah, so, and then was there a decision being made on the tall boards or short boards?
I had him quote tall boards on 3 sides and short boards on the side
side.
facing the street.
Because I did like that there's an opportunity, there's some revenue opportunity
Yes.
For advertising.
for advertising on there that could help offset the costs. And I know people are always, in this community, looking for different advertising opportunities. And to the point of sales tax in the downtown, I just, hopefully this maybe encourage some other businesses in the downtown and to adjust their hours a little bit,
Yes.
because of if families are dropping kids off.
After school, evenings, yeah.
So that they
Great.
can, partake in their, whatever they're selling, so.
Way back,
Go
I was just
ahead.
going to comment on that. Way back when we visited Rapid City and they talked about, what happened to their downtown when they built their town square. They talked about that there was a shift. It was a gradual shift, but there was certainly a shift with the businesses to be there later in the evenings and on weekends, so that because that's when people are out enjoying those
Yeah.
spaces.
I think that needs to be encouraged, certain
Absolutely.
types of businesses, so, need to stay open, so. So since we're looking at 2024, I guess my recommendation would be that we can, staff to flush out some of the questions for you, and then maybe have a definitive answer for you on the 17th. I'll just let you know, I'm not gonna be here, I'm gonna be out of town. But, I've said, from the get-go, we need to maximize the usage of this space that we, spent a lot of money on. We just need to do it in the right way and make sure that in any kind of, proposed, asset to the square is that we are, doing it in a way that it benefits, the public and it puts the least amount of impact on everybody else, be it
Certainly.
staff or you guys, So, but I appreciate that you want to get out there and raise money, so, but if you could bear with us and maybe till the 17th.
Sure.
Go ahead and, staff, if you could look into some of those questions that were posed by the commissioners. So another thing I would look for is some information on the storage of the, I know, Christie, you said possibly in the building across the
Yes.
alleyway, but then we'd be paying for storage, so.
Yeah, there could be a possibility. There's early conversations about a donation of some space, so.
Possibly.
Revisit that.
Okay,
And I'll get an email back to
Okay.
all of you about the warranties as well.
all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that is the last item on the public hearing, public comments that was scheduled. Now is open to the public. Anyone from the public may come forward. If you have any concerns on items not on our agenda, please come forward, state your name for the public. If you're watching online, 701-456-7006, you may call in. Again, any items not on the agenda that you wish to speak to. Is there anyone from the public? Can she not, I don't know, she's signaling, can she not hear back in there?
Hello, I'm Stacy Piatz again with the Dickinson Dolphin swim team.
You're with who,
calling-
ma'am?
Dickinson Dolphin, Stacy
Okay.
Piatz. I came last month regarding some assistance. I haven't heard anything back yet.
Mr. Dossinger?
Mr. Decker, I did have a conversation with Director Ray. Is he still in the crowd? Or did
He's
he
right
leave?
in front.
We did have a conversation, and maybe I'll ask him to step forward as far as how Park and Rec was going to finance those two diving boards, so.
Good evening. I didn't know I was going to be up here so much, so I'm glad I came. We've had the swim team come to our board meeting and present to us. We had early on made an agreement with them that we would fund the cost of one board if the swim team would fundraise for the other board. That's something that we've committed to. We've even, as a park district, said that we'd be willing to fund that up front and make an agreement for them to pay us back, as well as sent on several other opportunities for the team to find funding for their portion of the board. And so that's kind of where we're at with that. And I would not mind sitting down with Stacy and furthering that discussion, so.
So I've got a question. When we built the building, did we put the diving boards in there? Or did the swim team put them in?
Obviously, that's not a question I can answer, but
I'll just stay up here. I believe that they were put in as part of the building. They are still being utilized and are functioning for the use of recreation. Part of the demand from the swim team is they want to add in a competitive diving program. And we feel like that would put extra use and wear on the boards. So we felt like it was appropriate to ask them to contribute in part to the replacement of those boards.
Okay.
I like it also known that the Dickinson High School, as well as Trinity's high school team, is using the boards majority of the time, compared to our program that's only been utilizing it for 3 months. We are just starting a program. We have yet to utilize the boards other than in the summertime, and which is between June, July, and August. And our diving coach is a collegiate swimmer who is unable to use the diving boards in their current condition because of the age of the boards, and the replacement has not been done over the years. It is my understanding that the boards are original to the building, that is 20 years. Dawson Wilson is having to travel to Bismarck to train. He is 8th in the nation. We have a collegiate swimmer, 8th in the nation. It is kind of important that he can actually train at home, and right now he is unable to do so in the current condition the boards are in. Right now, one of the boards currently has a cone on it. It has been known to have that cone on it for over 5 years. I'm not sure exactly where the funding has gone to for a replacement. I have submitted several quotes. I just don't feel like a 501(c) should be having to fund 100% of a board that we're only going to use for 3 months out of the year.
Mr.
So
President?
oh, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
So I am not involved with the swim team at all, but I know in some of the other clubs that I don't participate on any of the boards, but my husband is on many other boards for other sporting entities here in town. And I know there's a lot of times partnerships and things that are paid that are used at Park and Rec facilities. And so I do believe that is commonplace, that there's interaction between the 501(c)(3)s and them fundraising, because they're more able to fundraise with their 501(c)(3) status. And so then they use that money to purchase the equipment that they need.
Correct.
And so I do believe that is an appropriate way to use your club as the 501(c)(3) to be providing some of those funds for the upgraded equipment that you need.
We only started the program over the summer, and we only used it 2.5 months. The high school has had the program in place since 2015. Sure. The booster clubs have yet to contact me back. They have been already told by the treasurer with the Dickinson High School Booster Club that they will not be helping us out. That includes Trinity as well as the high school. Again, the high school program has been in place since 2015. We've only started the diving program over the summer, which is 2.5 months.
Sure, so I have visited with members of the booster clubs, and they're not aware of this ask.
I have contacted Mr. Fridley multiple times. I've left multiple messages. He has yet to return any of my phone calls.
So that would
back.
be very important to me before I would approve any funding, is to make sure that those sources were used, because those are very important sources that many people donate very willingly to support all these causes. And I know that there's a lot of times money for these things. So I don't know how we can help you get in touch with these people, but it is very important that those avenues are used first, because that is a very that's what those booster clubs are there for.
I have contacted the booster clubs all through the summer, as well as businesses throughout all summer long, and I've only received half.
Sure, and maybe showing up at those booster club board meetings, because they are on regularly scheduled bases. And so sometimes just that face-to-face interaction, they're better. There's a better chance of you getting your funding.
And I have received multiple emails from them that they would approach the boards regarding my issues, and I have yet to receive anything back, and I've also received rejections.
Sure. So I wonder if you would go like onto those booster clubs, onto their websites or other things?
have.
And go to those exact members?
I
And just
have.
tag along with them to their meetings?
I have.
You've gone to their meetings?
I've gone to them all through the summer since they were on summer break, as well as I've gone to emailing them, text messaging them, and have not received anything back because they were off over the summer and they did not have a booster club meeting this last August or September. They only had a event, unfortunately, and I wasn't allowed to. I couldn't attend.
Mrs. Piatz, so Mr. Ray, you had indicated that Parks and Rec would be interested in or be willing to perhaps absorb the upfront cost if there was an agreement that the fundraising would be completed. And Mrs. Piatz, if you're saying that you've got half already raised,
I do have half. However, I do have to go back to my sponsors and ask for money again because it's the starting of a new season. So it's actually me double dipping to my sponsors again for funds when I've already asked them for funds.
okay.
Remind me again how much we're talking?
$6,500.
That's what they're asking you to pay?
It's around 12,000, a little closer to 13,000 for the boards, both boards to be purchased at the same time because we save on shipping and because we're a 501(c), we get a tax break.
So I mean, I take this for what it's worth. I mean, it's advice from me, so it might not be worth much. But I would perhaps, instead of contacting Mr. Fridley, like Mrs. Sobolik said, contact the presidents of the booster clubs directly. I think it's Kyle Kuntz at Trinity, and I'm not sure who it is at Dickinson High. But contacting those presidents directly, and it sounds like you've tried that route and you haven't got anything back. But their meetings are regularly scheduled, and I think to a certain extent are open for these type of proposals. But Mr. Ray, I mean, like, it might perhaps be easier to raise this money once the diving is part.
Through February, and then we start our summer program. And then the summer program is when they only allow diving in the state.
Okay.
And that allows us to bring in other people to dive with us. So, but right now, we can't dive during the normal season because it's high school, girls and boys diving. That's taking the majority of the diving, not the club.
Okay.
Commissioner Barry, you were about to make a comment?
Susie, Commissioner Sobolik kind of answered my question.
Okay.
So.
All right. I would echo what Commissioner Soboluk and Commissioner Oderman said. I would bypass athletic directors and go straight to the clubs. Probably going to get better results for that.
I will try again.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Anyone else from the public wishes to come forward? Comments not on our agenda. Anyone else? Close the public comment section. We'll go back to the normal agenda. And first up is Public Works. We have an RFP for the Baylor Building. And this will be by Interim Deputy Public Works Director Prowse. Welcome.
Good evening, President and Commissioners. A little change of plans tonight. I'm just going to give you guys an update of where we're at with the RFP for the Baylor Building expansion and Recycling Center expansion. September 18th, we reviewed two proposals that came in, one from Burns McDonald and the other from GT Architect. We are going to move in the direction of signing an agreement with Burns McDonald. They have a lot of experience working with transfer stations throughout the North Dakota, Minnesota area heavily, and we feel they'll be the best fit for this project. I do not have the agreement with us tonight for you guys to sign, so I will be presenting that at a future meeting once it's finalized. What we're looking at in this, through this RFP was a firm to assist the city of Dickinson with the final design stages, through the bidding process, and then into the construction management for the expansion. As it's laying out in the proposed schedules, we're looking at a 24 to 25 construction season, end of 24 and into 25, if everything goes smoothly. And I can answer any questions that you potentially may have.
My only comment would be, it'd be nice to have the proposals attached for us to take a look at.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
I guess I'm just wondering why we have an architect and then we're hiring another firm. I mean, the firm's just gonna design it anyway, right?
So both of them have we have GT Architect was one of the proposals, and they're contracting out to Highlands. They're partnering with Highlands Engineering and Prairie Engineering, and then Burns McDonnell is actually an engineering firm that does have architectural members within their firm.
Got a whole lot of architects and engineers involved. So, okay. Yeah, if you could,
I mean, before we see the contract, I'd like to see the proposals.
Yes, I will have those proposals forwarded to you guys. We can get those soon. And then as part of that service agreement, we'll make sure that they're part of that package.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Next up, public safety, monthly fire department report. Welcome, Chief.
Thank you, President Decker and Commissioners. I'm before you tonight to present the monthly report for the fire department for August. Just a reminder of the services we do provide. It goes beyond just fire suppression. An overview, we had 165 calls for service. That does put us at about 1,297 year to date, which is a 28% increase from last year. Here's a breakdown of our calls by month. So we've kind of moving kind of steady and now kind of plateauing out as compared to last year. And that big spike is from starting to get more involved in EMS. Whoops. Here's a breakdown by calls. We did have 8 fires in August, so it was a little busy with some small fires. Nothing major happened. And then approximately 170 EMS calls for the month of August. Calls by apparatus. In the past months, our QRU had been running the majority of the calls, but with some increased numbers in fires and false alarms and some hazardous condition calls, that did push our engines out a little more and required us to take them instead of a QRU. Here's a breakdown of our calls by station. Station 1 continues to run the majority of the calls, a very large percentage. Here's a heat map of where all of our calls are occurring. The red does indicate multiple calls happening in that area. So most of those red spots are either some form of a apartment complex or assisted living or medical facility. Response times. We're still seeing some pretty decent response times, but we did see our Station 1 response time increase a little bit. I really can't find anything specific as to why that happened, but it was not a major increase. We're talking maybe 20-second increase in response time from the previous month. We did bring down Station 2's response time by probably about almost 45 seconds from last month. Training hours, we stay pretty busy training. We completed 640 hours of company training, which is just general type fire training, 12 hours of officer, 201 hours of facility training, 5 hours of hazmat training, and then 14 EMS hours. That does put us right around the 89% of our overall training hour requirement, which is about 9,500 hours in a year to maintain our ISO Class 3 rating. that we do have and help keep our insurance premiums down. So we're a little ahead of schedule. Just have a little bit more to get done for the rest of the year, but we're moving along pretty good with our training hours. Fire prevention, 135 routine inspections were conducted in August, and then 66 other prevention activities such as station tours, going out to daycares to present, and then 5 certificates of occupancy were issued. And then with that, I'd gladly answer any questions.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions for Chief Bresnell? Not a question, just comment. Great event, leading into the community breakfast, leading into Fire Prevention Week. So, guys, continue to do outstanding work in the community, and I understand that you filled all your ranks back up. You lost 3 firefighters, but you filled 3. You got 3 right away.
Yes, all
Okay.
of our openings are filled at this time.
Good deal. All right.
Thank
Any
you.
other comments or questions? All right. Thank you, Chief. All right, we'll move into community development. We have the final plat for the TCB subdivision. This will be presented by Engineering and Community Development Director Skolzacek.
Good evening, Mr. President, Commissioners. It's a minor plat for TCB subdivision, and this is ultimately part of a previously platted area. The consideration for this is to look at platting. What we originally started looking at was platting for the eastern portion of this, but as we were working through the engineering and design for the new quick lube facility that's going in directly east of the gas station, we identified that there was a retaining wall that ultimately crossed the property line. So we added in and adjusted the lot line slightly for what is the existing gas station. And that's why that's being part of this as the replat. And then also included in this, there would ultimately be the ingress-egress easement to the northernmost lot. And so with that, there is a development agreement attached in your packet. That development agreement is a similar format to what you've seen from previous developments, and very similar language, not a lot of changes with that development agreement. In particular, one of the things added in would be for that easement area or the drive aisle, the pavement condition, if there were to be in the future concerns about the pavement condition that would get down to a certain level, then ultimately the city would have the opportunity to present them with written notifications, I believe 3 over the period of 12 months. If no action further is taken, then the city would have the opportunity to perform a special improvement district and improve that pavement, and they would have waived their right to protest that as part of the development agreement. So that ultimately kind of alleviates some of the concerns with if maintenance isn't being performed. So with that being said, I guess City Community Development staff recommends approval.
Okay, thank you. This is Resolution 28-2023. Any questions? There are no questions on this final plat for Resolution 28-2023. I'd look for a motion.
Mr. President, I move to approve.
A motion approved by Commissioner Bear.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Frederick. Any further questions? Comments? Hearing none, we'll vote. Dr. Bear.
Aye.
Mr. Frederick.
Aye.
Mr. Oderman.
Aye.
Mrs. Sobeluk.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Next up, we have the final plat for the Center Point Edition. Again, well, this will be presented by City County Planner Josephson. He's waiting this evening.
Thank you, President Decker. Commissioner Steve Josephson. This is a minor subdivision plat for the Center Point Edition subdivision. The property is zoned general commercial. It's part of the subdivision. This property was originally created through a lot split from an original platted lot out in Westridge. Because there is a business that's interested in going out there right now. It's going to be a tire service station that's going to be locating there. Because they were doing another split, it would require coming in for a minor subdivision plat. Both the Planning and Zoning Commission and Community Development staff recommend approval, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Josephson. Any questions on this final plat? Just heads up, our internet went down again. At least mine did.
Mine did too.
Yep.
So I have no idea what's going on, but at least it looks good that there's some stuff happening out there. So this will be Resolution 29-2023. If there are no questions, I'd look for a motion.
Mr. President, move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Oderman.
Second?
Second by Commissioner Sobeluk. Any further questions, comments? Hearing none, we'll vote. Mr. Oderman.
Aye.
Ms. Sobeluk.
Aye.
Mr. Frederick.
Aye.
Dr. Bear.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, last item up, Commissioners, this is your time. Any items?
Oh, I just wanted to update, John, you might want to, or Commissioner Oderman, you might want to update on the Youth Commission yesterday. We had a.
Board, I'm glad you actually brought it up. I actually talked with Mr. Dossiner about it, which is including the members of the youth board in our, in some of the boards we're on, so that they could be a part of it. They would not be a voting member, but they could sit in and make comments so that we could get their suggestions too, so that they could be more a part of what the city does. I thought that would be a good idea.
We had a good discussion about that yesterday, and we're gonna pursue exactly that, because that's feedback that we've gotten from the first 2 years, is that they'd like it to be a little bit more of an immersive experience where they get a little bit more of a feel for
Awesome.
what it's like to work in city government. So
Get them up for that 7 a.m. planning and zoning.
I was just thinking that. That one might not be as exciting for them.
And did they want to come to this meeting and share input, or am I making things up?
No,
I felt like they wanted to come here and share some input with us on what they're working on too, and.
They talked about every other month or every month, perhaps providing a report to the.
No, that would be
commission.
great.
So
That'd be great. And then have them work with, I know the Youth Commission up in Watford City, they work with Vision West on that cultural inclusion committee. So possibly have some of them on that. You know, they're doing some, you know, really great things up in Watford City, that growing population up there of individuals not, you know, necessarily from North Dakota moving into there. Get the. All right, anything else?
Well, just who do they contact for those open spots?
So there is an application on the website, but they can reach out to Susie or I.
Okay.
As well. Yeah.
All right, anything else, Commissioners? Look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We adjourn.
It's just